These two men should have never been stars, but they became legends in Kung Fu. And before the end of their journey, these two best friends would grow to hate one another. In this video, we're going to find out more about these two legends, the mysterious dissolution of their friendship, and what their relationship is like today.
Throw down all your weapons.
It's 1970. You're standing backstage at the 16th Annual Asian Film Festival. Your hands, without even noticing it, have clenched into fists. The man you call your friend steps backstage from behind the curtain. He holds a golden statue and is flocked by a crowd larger than all who have paid you any attention throughout the night. You put on a smile. He smiles back. You can tell he really doesn't even seem to care about this adulation and adoration. But it's all you ever wanted. You are Ti Lung, and the man holding the Best Actor award is your best friend and soon to be your worst enemy, David Chiang. Two men, two legends in martial arts cinema, driven apart by reasons that have remained mysterious for over 40 years. By the end of this video, you will know as much about this situation as anyone really can. But let's first talk about how these two very different characters became giants of their industry. Ti Lung. Ti Lung was born in 1946 in the city of Guangzhou, which lays roughly 75 miles to the northwest of Hong Kong. Guangzhou is the largest city within its province of Guangdong, and today it has a population greater than 18 million people. Ti Lung was born with the name Tan Fu Rong, or Tan Fu Wing in Cantonese, and his childhood was one of unfortunate poverty. According to Terence J. Brady's book, Biography of the Chinatown Kid, Ti Lung described himself as a thin, feeble young man. Despite his poverty, for a while he was able to attend the prestigious Eton boarding school in Hong Kong. Unfortunately, this would not last, and he had to drop out at the tender age of 11 in order to start working. He worked as a trainee in a local tailor shop, even eventually moving into the role of a designer, a job that paid very well and was very comfortable. But something was missing. Something that was eating away at the young man. And in a twist of fate he never could have expected, things would soon change for this skinny, underprivileged kid.
My film career came about solely by chance. I was working in a tailor shop, saw an advertisement for new faces, applied, went through various tests and interviews, and was one of the 5 men who was chosen from more than 2,000 applicants. I think that the main reason for my selection was that I had been doing gymnastics for more than 5 years, which gave me an advantage in swordsman films.
Despite being an athlete and soon growing into a body that would be tantamount to the ideal Shaw Brothers physique, Ti Lung was not your prototypical choice for a kung fu superstar. He had been training for Wing Chun for some time before moving into acting, even being taught by a Sifu who had a mixed legacy that could be traced back to the legendary Yip Man. However, calling him a star athlete might be going a bit far. Although he would eventually cement himself in that role, for the time being, that idea seemed far from a reality. Yet, improbable as it was, Ti Lung would become one of the greats of Shaw Brothers Studio. It was in 1968 that Ti Lung moved into the Shaw Brothers dormitory. The Shaw Studio system was a bit different than what we expect here in the West. You lived, breathed, and trained for film. The in-house Nagua acting training class taught Ti Lung some of the basics from various martial arts, including karate, Muay Thai, judo, and mantis-style kung fu.
In its heyday, Shaw Brothers with Run Run at the Realm produced a raft of popular films. It also showered its staff with welfare benefits, including dormitories and attractive remuneration.
Shaw Brothers paid us well, $800 a month. We were in a tiny dormitory called Actors' Quarters, a partitioned room. In the end, when you got leading roles, you could apply for an over 1,000 square foot bona fide flat. Those were 6-star ensuite units. Utilities were paid for. If there were more of such contracts, I'd sign for another 80 years.
Ti Lung would train for 6 grueling months before making his debut, but during this time, he still loved cinema. It was then that he discovered French actor Alain Delon, who he quickly became a huge fan of. He called the actor dark, dynamic, and magnetic, attributes he hoped to evoke himself. Lung made his debut in Return of the One-Armed Swordsman, where he found himself in a small secondary role alongside one of his heroes, Jimmy Wang Yu. the original One-Armed Swordsman was groundbreaking. Before the release of this film, Shaw Studios had a very large focus on female leads, but director Chiang Ti and star Jimmy Wang Yu both had a very masculine vision of cinema. During the mid-1960s, Run Run Shaw was trying something different, and part of this was his new wave of color films from Shaw Studios. The One-Armed Swordsman was the title that put this wave on the map. Ti Lung stated that when he debuted, he did his best to actually imitate Wang Yu. He said the veteran actor had a fighting posture like he was trying to hold back 10,000 soldiers, and he wanted that same on-screen power, but it proved too difficult to give proper reactions during fight sequences. For Return of the One-Armed Swordsman, Ti Lung was credited as Tam Wing. At the time, he had not decided on a stage name. He knew that he was a huge fan of Alain Delon, and he wanted his name to reflect that in some way. But it wasn't until a production secretary helped him and came up with the name Ti, meaning lucky, and Lung, meaning dragon. Ti Lung, Delon. Ti Lung, Delon. Towards the end of the year, Ti Lung would end up with a leading role in the film Dead End. Dead End was a contemporary title, unlike One-Armed Swordsman, and a solid film for the burgeoning performer. It has a solid mix of things such as youthful rebellion and tragic romance, set against a backdrop of societal constraints. Ti Lung's brooding presence adds depth to the film and shows degrees of character for this upcoming star. Next up was the action drama Vengeance, a bloody and gritty affair. This intense revenge piece would garner a lot of attention. Ti Lung's role isn't as large here, but he immediately makes himself memorable, and it helped him further make a name for himself. The title also features an epic knife battle during the finale that makes it stand out amongst the Shaw library. He and David Chang were cementing themselves as a duo at this point, and it was here that David ended up getting the nomination and then award at the 16th Annual Asian Film Awards. The Blood Brothers was another incredibly popular title for the duo, with Ti Lung playing the treacherous Officer Ma in 1973, and this would see Ti Lung stepping out of the shadows and receiving the Golden Horse Award at the Asia Pacific Film Festival. The Blood Brothers was the first time Ti Lung played a villain. His honest face and upright demeanor, as the South China Post would describe it, almost always made him the hero. As we go this far into Ti Lung's career though, there is someone else we need to discuss in detail. David Chang Dawei. If it was improbable for Ti Lung to make his way to the top of the box office, despite looking the part, David Chang might be a more unlikely choice for a leading man. At a time where tall and well-built fighters were the absolute pinnacle of kung fu stars, here was David Chang at 5'7" and probably a little over 100 pounds. He may not have looked the part, but his natural charisma and talent for acting made him a presence on film. He was nimble, fast, and although he lacked some of the innate beauty and martial arts form that some others from that period had, likely due to his lack of experience in comparison to some others, he instead had rough body mechanics that actually made this smaller man appear more vicious. I often think that Jimmy Wang Yu had a very similar style, although in Jimmy's case, he was even more vicious. In 1947, Chang Wen-yun was born in Shanghai, and he was surrounded by the entertainment business. His father and mother were both popular local actors, and he and several of his brothers would all also inevitably catch the acting bug. Unfortunately, David's father would pass away when he was only 4 years old, and he and the rest of his family were all thrown into poverty after this. 9 family members all lived under the same roof in the notorious Kowloon walled city. His mother was the breadwinner, and her limited acting jobs could only provide so much. In Biography of the Chinatown Kid by Terrence J. Brady, the author included this quote from Chang.
I tried looking everywhere at home, but still couldn't find a single dollar. $1 was enough to buy bean sprouts and beef, but only those unwanted parts. To put it bluntly, it was the meat for dogs.
Chang was not the greatest student, and his mother pushed him to continue his schooling. Unfortunately, she pushed too hard, and Chang ran away from home. Despite there being temptations to run afoul for a young man on his own, Chang got to work and started to earn a living in assorted odd jobs. His older brother, Paul Chun, was the one that gave the first push for David to get back into acting. He helped push him into being on set for the Steve McQueen classic The Sand Pebbles, which happened to be filming locally in Hong Kong. Chang and his family had made amends, it seems, as his stepfather had opened a business in Taiwan for a company called Union Film, and he moved with them to the neighboring nation. Union Film was a production company started by Shaw Brothers veteran director King Hu and the Taiwanese producer Sha Rongping. Chang stayed here for about 10 months as Union Film was first getting started, but the allure of Hong Kong, as well as the movie business, was too much and he moved back to the colony. Upon his return, he had a bit of luck meeting up with Tong Gai, famed action choreographer for the Shaw Brothers studio. After this random encounter, he was given the opportunity to perform as a stuntman on the Chiang Ti feature Golden Swallow, starring Jimmy Wang Yu and Chang Pei Pei. It was here that Chiang Ti saw the young man and saw star potential. He ended up signing him to a 3-year contract, and despite his size, he saw his youthful face as a star who could lead the business in the near future. Understanding the politics of Shaw Studio is pretty important when looking at this very specific time frame. In understanding this period, we have to briefly look at one of the most interesting men of the era, a man who has been known to have very serious triad ties, who was associated with several murders, and who revolutionized martial arts action on film. Jimmy Wang Yu had become a star for the company in a short period of time. The One-Armed Swordsman was a massive hit that led to a string of similar movies starring Wang Yu. He starred in Swordsman, and then both directed and starred in The Chinese Boxer in 1970, which is often credited as the film that started the Kung Fu craze. Previous to this film, wuxia titles were the common martial arts form on cinema. It was Jimmy Wang Yu who saw how the Japanese would have their martial artists square off with fighters representing other cultures and styles, and he thought, why not Chinese Iron Fist? In the run-up to creating the film, Jimmy even briefly quit Shaw Brothers over the film not going into production. And this threat of losing one of their biggest stars and first male stars was enough to push the issue, and eventually Run Run Shaw was forced to support the production. The film, as history tells us, was a massive hit, and Jimmy rode the wave. But this wasn't the first or last time Jimmy had issues with the Shaw system. So when the head of production and mentor to Jimmy Wang Yu, Mr. Raymond Chow, decided he was fed up with the Shaw Brothers and left to start Golden Harvest, Jimmy followed with him. In the resulting chaos, Shaw was in a peculiar place. They had the means, the finances, and had been riding high on a series of successes, but success of this magnitude was still relatively new for the company. They had to create new stars, and it needed to happen fast. The Brothers of Blood. Ti Lung and David Chang hit it off enormously, from their time in bit roles until Chiang Ti started using them to fill the power vacuum left by Jimmy Wang Yu. The chemistry was powerful on-screen and off-screen as well, and according to reports, newspapers were flooded with information about their brotherhood. Ti Lung supposedly filled the role of older brother to David Chang, and their closeness was felt in all of media, with the photos of Chang and Ti Lung riding on either horseback or motorcycle filling up magazine spreads. The media used a phrase in describing the duo, as they so frequently collaborated on screen together that they seemed inseparable, but they were known to say, Ti never leaves Chang, Chang never leaves Ti. Socialites were known to call them the Pretty Pair, but their bigger nickname would be the one that stuck between Ti Lung, David Chang, and director Chiang Ti, the Iron Triangle. The duo of Ti Lung and David Chang starred in dozens of movies together, the majority of them directed by the legendary Chiang Ti. Many of these films were huge hits, and even more importantly, they were incredible works of action cinema. Yet somewhere in the mid-70s, things went downhill. It came out that these two were refusing to even be on set together for even the smallest amount of time. Yet, despite these two being huge international stars, no one ever came out and said what had happened, who did what, or why these two legends seemed to not even be willing to communicate. The actors who had starred alongside each other for dozens and dozens of films were now branching out and becoming singular entities. While each man had their moments of fame during the years following their minimally talked about breakup, their careers certainly started to see an unfortunate decline. As the 70s progressed, Chiang Ti became infatuated with the Venom mob, and for whatever reason, this once duo seemed to lose favor with general audiences. In the case of David Chang, in 1980 he made his TV debut with Dynasty, followed by The Princess Chang Ping and The Green Dragon Conspiracy. This was the dawn of a new era for David Chang. While his TV work would not attain him a lot of international exposure, it did keep him busy exploring more of his abilities. He wasn't done with film though, as he moved into more comedic fare both on screen and in the director's chair, delivering in locally successful titles such as The Wrong Couples. As Ti Lung's time in the spotlight began to wane, he had some tough times throughout much of the early 80s. However, this would soon change when one of the young assistant directors from Shaw Studios would go on to reinvent action cinema as the world knew it. That young man was John Woo, and the film was A Better Tomorrow. Being a fan of the man and his work, Wu cast Ti Lung as Si Ho Sang, the elder triad, trying to do the right thing in the world after being set up and doing time, damaging his family's reputation. But Better Tomorrow was a massive box office draw, and it again pushed Ti Lung into the mainstream, helping him stay relevant and working consistently into the 90s. Both men took huge hits in their careers after splitting up, and also, of course, had issues with their popularity simply for the waning popularity of Shaw Studios as the 1970s came to a close. But what caused this split? The breaking of the triangle. For years, Kung Fu fans have pondered what this split was over. Both actors have had their lips sealed, and in the West, most people don't even know that this split happened. However, for years, much of what we've gathered about this situation has come from anonymous users on online forums. In 2006, a user on the Kung Fu fandom forum made a post asking about the situation, and a reply was made that seemed like a sort of copy and paste article about the duo. This post made some pretty big claims. Among them is that both Chiang and Lung had some investment in Chang's films, a production set up in Taiwan in conjunction with Shaw Brothers, who, from what is available online, were using funds that they had within the country that could not be moved to Hong Kong. I've read different stories about all of this. It's true that Chiang and Lung both stepped into the director's chair while on their Chang's Films venture, and I think they may have even had capital involved. But this post was the only time I recall reading anything about there being a dispute over money. This post also mentioned that there was a further rift due to David Chiang having a love triangle involving Lily Lee and the woman who would later be his wife, Lin Lee, and this all supposedly made Ti Lung sick, which seems a bit high and mighty.
咁你合作咗咁多個女仔，有冇真係有啲戲假情真嘅咧？同埋你哋又住宿舍，會唔會真係近水樓台咁樣咧？
To be fair though, Ti Lung does seem to talk like he's a very principled person.
I realized that movie making is not just another line of enterprise, it is a world of its own. It has its own way of living, behavior, code of morals, human relationships, technology, and relationships. Life can be so busy and restless once you are in the film circle.
So these are maybes. However, the same article also said that it was Mona Fong, Run Shaw's eventual wife and huge figurehead at Shaw Studios, who came up with the Ti Lung name, and it stated it was based on her favorite actor, Alain Delon. But most sources list Ti Lung as the one with the Delon infatuation. So I'll take Terrence J. Brady's word on this one. Ratchicorn, a poster from the Kung Fu fandom forum, reported in 2022 that the only known conflict between the two occurred during the filming of Empress Dowager in 1975. He stated that Chiang was originally slated for a cameo, but his role was expanded to the point where he effectively became a co-lead. Ti Lung felt that this was an act of disloyalty from Chiang. I'm unable to find it myself, but this poster stated that Chiang hinted at this in his autobiography. The post continued and stated Ti Lung ceased communication with Chiang for a year after the Empress Dowager. They did then work together on Seven Man Army and seemingly got along, but upon returning, Chiang's calls went unanswered. Eventually, Ti Lung requested that director Ko Yoon replace the actor with David Chiang's own brother, Derek Yee, in The Sentimental Swordsman, to avoid sharing scenes with Chiang. He also asserts that Ti Lung and Chiang's wives had a close relationship. After their split, both wives became antagonistic towards each other, particularly Chiang's wife, since his career declined the most after the two actors split. Chiang was removed from 2 projects with Ti Lung, and his only significant role was in Naval Commandos, where Ti Lung's part was noticeably reduced. Chiang eventually was pushed to work in Taiwan, citing the industry's insularity. Going back to the Empress Dowager, the author states that Chiang received significant praise for the film, including a standing ovation from the crew after some emotional scenes, which might have further unsettled Ti Lung. After all, Chiang apparently didn't even want to shoot the movie for fear of shaving his head, but Ti Lung convinced him, and shortly thereafter, all the attention within his own film project was being taken away from him. Ratchicorn speculated that the breakup was due to character differences, similar to what Ti Lung has said throughout the years. During this period, he states that Chiang was seen as simple and indifferent to fame or success. Chang Che supposedly noted that while Chiang was talented, he lacked competitiveness and could be too laid back. Chiang's disinterest in fame was referenced, and he was supposed to have been quoted as calling his Asian Cinema Award from 1970 a piece of rubbish metal. This written report did seem more authentic. However, this is the internet, and there's really only so much trusting you can do online. So I went looking for a more verifiable source and found it on the Chinese side of the net. In the shadow of the pandemic, an event happened that put these two men back in the public consciousness, and they gave as close to an answer as we may get. On January 2nd, 2021, TVB, one of Hong Kong's largest television broadcasting companies, co-founded by Run Run Shaw incidentally, had their annual award ceremony. During the show, Ti Lung and David Chang's older brother, Paul Chun, came out on stage to introduce the winner of the Performing Arts Award. Paul Chun turned to Ti Lung and said, "I've known you for a long time, but this next person seems to have known you for even longer." Ti Lung agreed. "We have worked together for a long time and even lived in the same dormitory." The man who walked on stage next was a surprise to all. Surprising, yes, but not the only time that these two had been next to each other since Shaw days. In 1986, when Ti Lung accepted the Golden Horse Award for Best Actor with A Better Tomorrow, it has been said that Chang congratulated him backstage. The next year, they were presenting the Best New Performer Award together at the Hong Kong Film Awards. The two appeared together in Just Heroes, the John Woo-directed heroic bloodshed title that celebrated Chang Che's 40th year in the film business. In 2014, these two actors would both serve as pallbearers for their colleague, director Wu Ma. So with that in mind, we realized that this relationship has had its ups and downs. But after the split in the 1970s, it has been down a lot more than it has been up. While there was a resurgence of the friendship, at least at several social functions during the 1980s, it seems the antagonism sort of festered throughout the years. 1974. Two men stand apart from one another. One is described by Chang Che as being the ideal Shaw Brothers star, almost built from the ground up for success. The other has been described by Chang Che as being incredibly talented, a little lazy, and reliant on his own innate abilities instead of hard work. The director's setting up for another scene featuring David. He's brought into this role because of his pal, Ti Lung, but now it seems like David is slowly pushing Ti out. David doesn't know this is happening, because a movie is a movie is a movie as far as he is concerned. But Ti is secretly fuming. He thinks, "I always give you your screen time. Why can't you think of me?" With a small amount of antagonism, this friendship that has established both of these men would soon come to an end, and both would feel the repercussions of this for years to come. This is the story presented in most Chinese outlets that I've been able to find. In the comments, I've included a translated Yahoo article that includes much of this information. However, even this is still somewhat speculative. Although it was reported that differences between the two came about during the Empress Dowager shoot, and we think we know the reasons, neither party has been explicit in their thoughts, and this is all gathered from secondhand information. During the fallout of the awards ceremony, where people were excited to see these two on stage again, David Chang did an interview discussing the matter. When speaking on these issues, Chang has remained somewhat tight-lipped. He states differences in personality are what have driven these two apart, but in one area he still holds outright animosity, and that is Ti Lung's actions when it came to the funeral of Chang Che. Ti Lung, who was busy shooting a movie at the time and too far away to attend, sent his son in his regard, but for Chang, this was an act of disrespect. He felt that Ti Lung could have found a way to attend the funeral, and according to some reports, Ti Lung apparently revealed years later that the differences he shared with Chang Che did indeed impact his showing up to the funeral. When asked about his feelings on this perceived snub at the funeral, David Chang has stated that he refuses to speak on it due to the anger he still feels. He stated that it made him so angry he didn't even want to think about it in order to answer any questions. Two men, tied together by the amazing pieces of cinema that they shared, who were unable to put the past behind them. Each man feels that he is right. Ti Lung feels that he was slighted during their partnership, and in the years since, he has likely felt antagonism coming from Chang. Meanwhile, David feels that Ti Lung unfairly left him behind and now disrespects their roots and the people who made them who they are. Someday, these two may reveal closer reasoning for all their decisions, but for now, we will instead have to focus on the better days and the movie magic they created. Now, if all of this has been interesting to you, I have to take some time out and recommend my video on the wild world of Bruceploitation. Some of the key figures in this story can be found there, and in this period of Hong Kong cinema was just rife with drama and turmoil. So keep watching, and I hope to be back with more very soon.